bam! I just punched him in the chest as hard as I could. Crumpled the kid.
I just threw him through that wall.
I grabbed... Now, Billy, he's not taking the Lord seriously. And so I walked over him. And with love in my heart,
I threw him down that staircase.
I grabbed the side of his head. And I put it through the drywall. I led him to the Lord that day.
Yeah.
He cried.
All right, so roll the intro.
Evening, officer. Is something wrong?
Just keep your hands where I can see them. Routine traffic stop. We got reports of someone driving under the influence. You know anything about that?
No, I'm only under one influence.
What's that?
The influence of Jesus.
It's time for Under the Influence.
Yeah, we don't want to do anything to scare your children.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's me, Jude, your favorite co-host on the Under the Influence podcast. I'm joined today by my favorite two co-hosts,
Levi.
And
Jerry.
And today we're going to talk to you about computers, the forest, and everything in between.
Okay. How
That's
so?
a lot of things.
You got to talk about the Discord.
I guess I have to. If you enjoy this podcast, if you enjoy this episode specifically, and you want to talk about some of the things that we talked about, or you just want to say hello, find us on Discord. Easiest way to get involved with the show, go to christianinfluence.net. You'll see a join Discord button there, and you can get involved that way. Or you can, I think now you can just go to discord.gg/christianinfluence, if I'm correct. Am I correct, guy in the chair? Yes, I'm correct. Also, we're on Facebook. If you would like to find us on Facebook, Under the Influence Podcast. I think we're on Instagram, CI Games, or Christian Influence, and we're on Twitter, CI Games XYZ. So, if you want to get involved,
if you hate the podcast, come on down.
Well,
we'd love to talk to you about
it. Yeah, we would.
Yeah, if you have better direction for
I'll
it.
fight you in the parking lot.
The online parking lot.
Yeah. The online parking lot.
Which is just, what? Which social media is the parking lot?
Twitter.
Yeah.
No. Twitter's like...
Name one more place filled with such scum and villainy.
When I think of a parking lot, I don't think of scum and villainy.
What do you think of?
I think of parking my car.
We're talking about fighting in the parking lot.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's true.
What, LinkedIn?
Still. No, LinkedIn is like the alleyway behind a Walmart. I'm going to go fight you on LinkedIn. Yeah. This bit is dead, man.
Yeah.
Okay. So, like we said, if you want to get involved, that's a really easy way to get involved. We'd love to hear from you. I think that's it for our little... Patreon as well. If you want more content like this, we post every few weeks, usually once or twice a month, just some bonus little stuff on Patreon, but also that's a really, really impactful way that you can help Christian Influence as a whole. Help us continue more types of content and outreach, and to better the community as much as we can so that we can be as effective as possible. So we are using that right now to help host this podcast and to help benefit our servers and stuff that we run. So if you would like to support us, that is the best way right now. What's going on over there?
Huh?
Nothing.
Blowing kisses to each other?
No, Jerry, gross.
Whatever.
I was chewing a piece of candy and I didn't want the mic to pick it up. So I was chewing.
But I could still hear it, so I was telling him that I could still hear it.
A couple weeks ago, man, you said that like you were in trouble. You were looking straight. Yeah, buddy.
Shut your mouth, Levi.
A couple weeks ago, we talked about Acme Arsenal.
Fantastic video game.
Right, well, you would think so. Somebody in the Discord reached out to us about it. Did you see that?
No.
Well.
Who? What server?
Well, where do you think? Christian Influence.
Christian Influence server.
You big dummy.
Wait, but what are all the other little servers inside of it?
You mean channels?
Channels.
Well, it'd probably be the Under the Influence channel. Yeah, in the Discord, Silas posted a picture of Acme Arsenal. Because he's listening to the podcast. He thought about the game, and he thought it sounded familiar, and he found it. He got the game when he was
Wii.
7 and then gave up on it and tried playing it again. And he said, it's
Gosh,
bad.
it is bad.
Is it bad?
No, say it ain't so. That's Jerry's message.
The biggest drawbacks are the horrendous camera angles and the nigh impossible parkour.
Yeah.
The combat and premise is fun. With a tad bit more streamlining, the game could be good. Hey, not so scathing of a review, but still sad.
That's hilarious.
Dude, we got to get our hands on this and play it for everything.
Honestly, I think a really fun, like Patreon exclusive bit of content or something would be us playing
Acme
Acme Arsenal. I loved that game, but I don't want to do it if I'm going to be disappointed.
You have to accept that everything will be disappointing from your past, and then nothing is.
Well,
Slamming
Wait,
our
what?
heads into the
that's what
frustration.
that sounds like something I would say, and you'd be like, "Man, Jury, you are the worst," or whatever.
No, I mean, like the Suck Fairy, I hate the concept because it's like, I went back semi-recently and watched through all of Jimmy Neutron, and I knew it wasn't going to hold up.
But it's real bad.
It is real
really
bad.
It's like not
But
even funny.
The abandonment of hope that, oh, maybe it really holds up, made it great because I wasn't expecting it to.
You mean you went into it expecting it to be bad? Is what you're saying.
Understanding that it would be bad.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Did you enjoy watching it?
Absolutely. Jimmy's dad is one of the funniest
Dude,
fictional
he's
characters.
incredible.
Wait, if you abandon that, can you enjoy Jimmy Neutron as well?
I mean, I was able to enjoy it because of the nostalgia.
Then why can't you do that with Kenobi, Levi?
Weaving a web. I watched Jerry weave that web, and I watched Levi just fall right into it. Oh, it was beautiful. I was watching Jerry like bricklaying a jail cell, and then he just slammed the door shut on Levi. Why can't you enjoy these things then, Levi?
Well,
Why can't Mahler let you?
it's not even that. I hated it anyway.
No, I mean it isn't.
Can't you just enjoy Star Wars?
Levi, I want to force you to enjoy new Star Wars content.
I like Star Wars.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, I mean I don't enjoy it, so somebody here has to.
I have a good friend whose favorite Star Wars film is The Last Jedi.
Yeah,
And I hope
is that
he's
the last
listening.
one?
I don't remember.
No. Rise of Skywalker is the last one.
That's sorry. The name is so forgettable. But that one's my favorite.
Come on, man. What about Rogue One?
This makes me
Honestly,
so
I don't
sad.
even know which one. Oh wait, okay, Levi, you like Star Wars, so which movie is your favorite?
So
Oh, no.
what?
I was afraid something bad was coming.
Oh, I really love episode 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I've heard everybody say.
I also highly enjoy
Oh, no.
episode 3.
Yes, dude.
Revenge of the Sith.
Backstroke of the West.
Why do you like episode 5 though? Because a lot of people say episode 5 is
Wait.
their favorite.
Because
Oh,
it was just
I don't
good.
remember what
fantastic.
happened.
I would have
don't
loved
remember what
I would have
happens.
loved
Is that the
6
one where
so much more if I don't like the Ewok whole thing.
Oh,
Yeah,
the
it's a
Ewoks
little
on everywhere.
Pandoran. Yeah.
And that's such a large chunk of it.
It
But
is.
if you take that out, because there's so many like
I think episode 5 has some of like, it is just so packed full of content, differing content.
And it's
you
like-
get all the characters you loved that have been introduced in the previous movie, and now they have like layers to them, and then you just get to see them
Doesn't
work.
that one open with Hoth?
yes.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's also like you get to watch the heroes aren't just succeeding at everything.
Yeah.
There's like
But they're
Cloud
established
City.
because you've moved on past Origins and all that, which you get in the first or in 4 or whatever, and now I guess it probably benefits from the same thing that like Spider-Man 2 benefits from, right?
Yeah.
You're past like introducing characters, things are at the height of their enjoyment, and you get to play with that. Whereas like when you get into the like movies that close out a trilogy or a saga or whatever, they're dealing with trying to wrap things up, which can make it difficult.
but
I don't
mean
remember what even happens in the 5th one, to be honest, though. So I don't. All I remember is it starts with Hoth, and then they kiss, and everybody hates that, right?
Luke and Han.
yeah.
Luke and Han Solo. Yeah, I mean, ugh.
It's like a Fredero kiss.
It was a what?
Isn't that what that's called? A Fredero kiss? It's like an Italian thing.
Fredero.
No,
Where you're like, mwah. But two men do it, and it's cool, like old timey.
Dude, I kind of really want like the.
To kiss my.
You want to kiss man, huh?
Oh yeah, I guess.
But you want it in the
no, I
you want
want
it in
some,
the
like,
context
Other
of
cultural
older
things like from the old world.
No, yeah, no, that is an interesting like cultural thing that we
It is, yeah.
embrace in
Yeah.
very Western idea. But,
What? Western idea to
yeah,
kiss your family like that?
yeah.
Why don't we do it then? If it's a Western idea,
No, I said Western idea as a joke for the guy in the chair. But you didn't hear it. And yeah, and what I was saying was, no, it's a very Western thing that we don't.
Got
and
it,
it's very common all over the place.
pretty much everywhere else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Episode 5 rocks. Han
Do
gets
you wish we
carbonated.
did that?
I wish there were things about our culture that were different.
Insightful. Yeah, episode
I'm
5.
answering like a politician.
Yeah.
I wish there were. There are things about our culture that I wish.
Well, there's a lot of things that I wish we did differently, and
that might be one of them. I mean,
sure.
I mean, that would be interesting to explore.
How about,
But on to the other one.
Yeah.
Episode 3?
Episode 3.
Fantastic.
Because I know that episode 5 is like the best one, like
Objectively.
without like all the lens of like my own like specific enjoyment. I just enjoy 3 so much.
Yeah.
It was such like it was like the culmination of like my childhood. I loved Anakin.
Yeah.
And him going dark side was like, I don't know. I loved it.
I remember watching that movie just a ton of times.
Super cool.
And constantly fast forwarding through Yoda's crawling through the pipe and fighting Emperor Palpatine scene because it's so incredibly boring
Fast
to me.
forward it.
It's so boring.
They're crawling through the. Pipes,
I hate the
like,
entire fight
yes.
that Yoda and Palpatine share
Really?
pseudo beside Anakin and Obi-Wan.
I mean, it's the less interesting of the two fights going on.
It is very much the less interesting of the two. But I don't like fast forward through it.
Yeah, I just
It annoyed me.
bare my teeth and move on.
I just watch it because it's also kind of funny.
It is kind of
It is kind of funny
stuff
seeing
that
Yoda
goes
like spinning everywhere, and
I think
you think
episode
about this
3
tiny, tiny little creature fighting a full-grown man,
Yeah.
who's also older than the hills, and then he's like,
I mean, they're
We
both-
get the horrific Palpatine scream when he jumps up, does a barrel roll in midair.
Yeah,
that's where that comes from. That's right.
When-
Remember when?
Well, no, that's not.
no,
from
that's
that
not
fight.
there.
That's when Mace Windu,
Yes.
Fisto, and the other guy.
No, I'm not saying between Yoda and him.
yeah,
It's when he jumps up, does a barrel roll,
No, yeah.
slices the two other Jedi.
and he does that scream. That fight scene, that is
I'm weak,
so
Ugh.
bad.
That scream. You remember when we played Skyrim way back in the day, and we got the mod that makes your shout that scream.
Yeah, I think it's the
Dude.
whirlwind sprint shout. So when you
Oh,
go
it's
forward,
so that when you move forward, it's dude. If we do this Skyrim together thing in the future, we all have to have that.
do you hear that?
Oh no, it's the dragon. It's the dragon.
It's just like
Yeah.
5 of them going on constantly.
Dude, I really do want to do that. I think it'd be fun if the 3 of us play, since the guy in the chair hasn't played the game at all.
Yes.
I was telling Jude, if we have him play the actual opening to the game, so it's like he's playing as the Dragonborn, and the 3 of us are like party members he meets along the way. I think that'd be super fun. But we have to do it eventually because it would be really cool.
Yeah.
And the 3 of us have tested it out a little bit, and it seems to work with other mods and stuff. So,
Yeah.
dude, I'm excited.
It's very cool.
I love that game.
It's a very fun game. I've got thousands of hours on it.
Wow.
And he got my money.
Who?
Todd Howard.
Yeah. Todd Howard.
Todd Howard got my money.
It just works.
It just works.
Yeah.
You want to know how to
I've
get
rebought
Levi's
that
money?
game so many times.
I just rebought it to get Skyrim together.
I've bought it twice.
I've bought it like 4 or 5 times.
No, 3 times. Because twice. I was counting one of them twice. I bought it on Steam when I played it for the first time on a laptop when I was in freshman year of high school. And then I bought it again when I got special edition for the Xbox. I've never bought it again though.
I used to go back and forth between mine and a childhood friend of mine's because I would go over to his house a lot, but I would bring a thumb drive and we'd play, and I'd play Skyrim. Like when he was off doing something else, I would just play through a bunch of Skyrim because we didn't have it at the time. And then we finally did get it. So I was taking the thumb drive of my
my
save file
gosh.
back and forth so I could continue playing.
Wow.
but eventually it got corrupted, and I was so absolutely.
I guess when
distraught.
you're moving a save file.
Oh yeah, it's much more dangerous.
Yeah. Whoa. You might hear some screaming in the background. There's
two guys
something
fighting.
going on downstairs.
It's
I think
Smash Brothers on the Nintendo
Oh,
64.
it's Smash Brothers, yeah.
Yeah.
And so there's an occasional ah!
That old Cain and Abel.
Yeah.
Yeah, Smash
Really
Brothers
valuable.
Genesis. What were we talking about? Oh, Star Wars. But yeah, I agree. I think 3 is probably my favorite. Just because it's the one that I remember, like, you know, as a kid, when I was actually cognizant or whatever, like able to be like, oh, I want to see the next movie in a series. I remember being excited for it. And you have this cool, because you know, we have the luxury of having those other movies. I don't know if it's a luxury, but you know, having already come out, so you know where they're going. You know, you see this progression, and so when you're watching like the first 2, you're like, oh wait, that little kid is going to become the bad guy.
Yeah,
and everything.
there's-
and so in the 3rd movie, you get to see all that happen, knowing that in the end he is redeemed in some ways. But
No, he is
He
redeemed.
is redeemed.
sure,
What do you mean, sure?
he's still evil. He's not a good guy.
What are you talking about?
You do one good thing at the very end, doesn't make you the good guy. He's redeemed, but he's still an evil human being.
No.
Okay, so somebody.
Within the context of the story, yes.
Okay. I mean, putting aside all of like real world attributing of evil and whatnot, because everyone's evil, everyone's bad.
Dude, that was like fanfare.
Yeah. How would he be good?
My problem is that he.
What is good?
What is good? Well, we have the benefit of God's word, like establishing.
No, not
some
in this
moral.
instance.
Okay, so you're saying within the context of that.
Because that's what we're talking about.
Right,
You
yeah.
said he was evil within the context.
Well, then it seemed like you were changing it, but
No, I was saying literally
within the
without-
context of that world.
Yeah.
I would certainly say that goodness is not feeling as though you are not receiving something you are owed, then turning around, murdering a bunch of children, and then going your entire life destroying planets and killing people with wanton abandon.
Okay, so let's answer the question: what is good?
Not doing that, but I would say good would be putting things like that, putting a stop to things like that, right? Recognizing the other evils in the world and making an effort to put a stop to that,
Which he does,
which he does at the very, very end. So he does a
and
good
the very,
thing.
very beginning,
And the very, very beginning. But then
20 odd years.
Sure.
Yeah.
And then for 1 minute at the end of his life, and then the 50 years or whatever it is in the middle, he spends.
So how much
murdering.
time do you have to spend repenting before you're good again?
Right.
Can you ever?
Yeah.
Be good
I see where
again?
you're going, Jude. But my
I'm just
point
going.
is.
I'm following the logic, son.
Okay. Yeah.
You can tell me what good isn't. That's fine. I want to know what good is and how you get there.
He does a good thing. I'm just saying that Darth Vader or Anakin, there's a whole lot more wrong with him. And that doesn't necessarily make up for it. And I get what you're about to catch me on. I get it, okay? I'm just saying, Anakin Skywalker, I don't like the character, okay? I don't like I just think he's a poorly written character. I just don't like it's just, there's a lot of suspension of disbelief.
I would
with
say
this
I
character.
care a whole lot less and dislike a whole lot more if I'm allowed to separate them, the Anakin to Darth Vader character than I do the Darth Vader to redeemed Anakin character. Does that make sense?
Which one do you say you like more?
Darth Vader to
Vader's
redeemed
redeemed.
Anakin.
That one, 100%. Yeah, I like that. If he was just always a bad guy, and like I like it within the context of those 4 movies. I like him as being this like brooding, relatively evil, but you know he's doing the bidding of this guy who's really making a lot of the
Pulling all the
decisions.
strings, yeah.
Yeah, he's kind of like a brutish kind of guy, but you know he's smart, right? He's got ability. I like that story of the bad guy who is the lieutenant, and it's a classic story too, right? And who at the very end is compelled or convinced that what he's doing is wrong, and you know what the right thing to do is. I like that. I like it within that context. My problem is that like I just really don't like how he is really, really good, or presumably really, really good, and then goes full evil. And I don't know.
Because he's not presumably really, really good. He's the chosen one, so to speak. And the whole time he's like, he's a good fighter and he's smart like tactically, but like not good in that sense. He's struggling with a ton of things throughout his whole Jedi career. That's like part of his character. He's falling in love when he shouldn't be, blah, blah, blah. And he's like tempted in the ways of his anger and stuff, and he toes that line between going too far all the way through it. So it's not like Captain America becomes Doctor Doom and then at the very end
That's true.
because he's not that.
Yeah.
He's a complicated character from the very beginning. But he did, in that moment when he realized and he saw and he, acknowledged that he was doing evil, literally did everything in his power until he died to make it right.
No, that's fair. I think you convinced me it's a better character than I usually think it is.
Have you seen the Clone Wars?
I don't think he's like poorly written. I shouldn't say that. And I don't think he's.
I think there's an argument with like the first Star Wars movie, little kid Annie being poorly written. Like,
I mean,
yeah.
there's a lot of
whole
poor
movie is-
writing in the prequels.
There's a lot of what?
Poor writing in
Yeah.
the prequels.
I don't love the. I mean, I don't even consider that the same character in my head. Not like I'm making a point to boycott it in some way. I mean, when I think about Anakin, I literally never think of that kid unless I think of Kid Anakin, which I
Yes,
think in my
Kid
head is like
Annie.
a separate character for some reason because it's so unrelated. That whole
Anakin-
first movie to me is so. It's not like it's terrible. I get it, but that whole first movie to me is like a movie for Obi-Wan more than anything else. No, but I don't know. I don't think he's a poorly written character. I think there's a lot of that is really cool. That redemption stuff is. I think it's old hat in the sense that like it's always going to be a type of story that people enjoy telling because it's so relatable, right? For any person to a certain amount, like this idea of redemption is very, very, very personal. Like for so many people, I think especially for Christians, but I think that I don't know. Yeah, I think it is a better character than I had maybe been giving it credit for. Hey, George Lucas is a genius. My bad.
I don't know about that. I think one of the biggest problems with the Star Wars fandom is that George Lucas is like a golden cow that no one can really criticize. When they do, it's like
there's a lot of criticism.
no, I know. When it's like Jar Jar Binks, because George Lucas likes Jar Jar Binks, and so a lot of people are like, "What a dumb thing." But then there's a lot of the number one thing I've heard actually is that like studios taking over and not letting George Lucas do what George Lucas wants to do, and that does happen. I just don't think George
That happens
Lucas
a lot now.
is as of a competent storyteller, maybe as he's accredited for being.
So the first movie,
Yeah.
episode 4, when it was first made, he was making it as like a swashbuckling comedy in space. That's what it was. It was going to be like zany, like crazy. And then his wife, right before everything was going to go out, she re-edited it all and made it into the movie that we have today.
The script, or she physically edited the film?
Like the film.
What?
What?
I mean, that doesn't
Like took
surprise
out
me.
a bunch of stuff that was just like
Because George is kind of
way
a
zany over the
weirdo.
top.
He is kind of a weirdo, yeah.
And but yeah, like
I would like to see. I
That
would like
sounds
to see
very
the
wives-tale-ish.
Yeah, it does sound like one of those things that like a bunch of people on the internet would be like, "Did you know that his wife actually is the one we have to thank for it?" But I mean, it could be. I don't know.
and then he kind of had like, because it was such a big hit, then he kind of went with that direction,
Yeah.
really, instead of the original.
I think it's funny how often he's like, "Let's take this out and let's put this back in." Like the various versions of the movie, has been it's like 7, 8 versions or whatever. I don't know if that's true. I just know that it's, there's so many different times it's been re-edited.
There's a perfect version. I think it was released in 97, because in 98 is when they did all of the animation.
Yeah.
So they went from the original, and now every single copy that was made after that point was like had the addition of the CGI over the top of everything else. And
There's CGI
really, yeah, it's
you
so
know, the
bad.
fourth one or something?
All of them.
In all 4, 5, and 6, and 1 through 3.
So like anytime you see the Emperor as a hologram, like when Darth Vader's talking to him, it is not the original footage
and
whatsoever.
all the
Once the movie's already
What are they
made, why
called?
would you go back in and...
because
They
this
were, like,
is what
re-released
this
special
is one
edition.
of the weird things that George liked.
He was like, let's try CGI. And you'd think after he
But-
looks at it and goes, this doesn't look as good. But
why,
it's because it's the new thing.
why the 1997 one is the best copy is because there was 1 year where he added in this song that's incredible. There's one song that got added in. I think it was like during some credit run. I might be wrong on that. But like, so there's a perfect one where it still had all of the stop motion and animatronics
And the song.
and the song.
And the song.
But they took the song out when they introduced
No,
it?
they kept the song in,
Okay.
but now
you
it's
get
all
CGI.
CGI.
Yeah.
And then later on went back and changed out the original actor for Anakin.
It's
Yes.
the song you're talking about.
Machine
It's that one where Han Solo's like singing about his grocery run routine
right.
or whatever.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. He pulls out a knife,
What?
slicks back his hair.
With
Yeah,
the
he was
knife?
part of the Jets.
Yeah, it's his musical solo.
You made the whatever. Guess
That is
run
why
in
he's
12
called-
parsecs. You should see my grocery run, kid.
That is why he's called Solo,
Because he comes his head
because
with a
of
knife.
his solos.
Oh,
Because
sorry,
of his
sorry.
musical. Hey, that's way better than what the movie said. And they're like,
Dude, that
Solo.
was-
We're gonna
that's
call
so
you Solo.
stupid.
Dude.
Oh my word.
Yeah. I didn't think that movie was awful, but I mean, it is another example. It's, well, dude,
Legendary Han Solo, you
yeah,
are.
we look at those movies and we're like, man, these are so dumb. But look at like what Disney's making now, all the other stuff. It's like, hang on, Captain Marvel.
mean,
Okay, it
it's
was
still dumb.
not that bad actually.
Captain America 2.
Captain America 2 is amazing.
What? That was the big decline of all the Marvel movies.
Winter Soldier?
Yeah.
No,
Dude, the entire thing is a political ideology piece.
right. That movie's great.
It's like one of my favorite Marvel movies.
No, actually, the decline was Avengers. Once they got them all together,
Yeah.
Yeah,
it kind of just
was
ruined it. Because
boring.
then it's just like, why wasn't Thor around when Tony was stuck in a cave?
Why didn't somebody cure cancer? You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. That's why I hate Star Wars 5. Why did they just cure cancer?
No more cancer, you have.
Using the Force?
Yeah.
No, there's
I don't know. You got to be real surgical with the force there, partner. Crush an artery in the brain.
I don't know. In
Yeah,
that
that's
last
why-
movie-
that's
in that
why-
last movie they could probably just make it happen.
That's actually why Padme died of sadness. Because it was originally she was going to die of cancer. But then they were like, wait, hold on. They would have solved cancer. by
Definitely
this.
solve
Yeah.
that with the force.
So she just died of sadness.
Yeah. Or George Lucas at the time was like incredibly depressed. And he was like, I feel like it's gonna
I feel like I could just
Not
die.
British.
I don't know how to do a George
George
Lucas.
Lucas was like, I feel like she's just died of cancer in this one, but no, she's got to die of sadness.
He's just like, I'm thinking about his own sadness. Like, I feel like this could kill me.
I feel like she would die of sadness.
There you go.
Really.
That's a pretty good one. I was trying to do that, but then it came out British or whatever.
I feel like she died of
I
sadness.
feel like she died of sadness. Yeah.
I love putting Jar Jar Binks in the movie.
He's not British anymore, apparently.
Well, he's something.
Okay, we got a couple clips here that we should watch
couple
together. Jude, you've seen this first one. Actually, you know what? Let's do the one that none of us have seen first.
Oh, great. Good thing I can't see the TV screen thing.
Yeah. I don't think you need to. This is mostly audio, I think.
Okay.
Sent to us by the guy in
If
the
you play
chair.
the fart sound effect.
Well, now I have to.
Nah, the jock's dead.
The reason you lift your hand is because you already believe. You're saying, I believe. You know, and we've just given you an opportunity to confess him before men. He sees you, a little guy in the back. Little guy, I'm not a midget, he's a child. I mean, I don't want anyone to think I was offending a midget.
Dude, he sings for so long. Oh, wait, hang on. Does he go...
He knows
Dude,
he ruined it.
The thing is called the very worst altar call.
Man, all those people being
And we've just given you an opportunity to confess him before men. He sees you, a little guy in the back.
I like the message.
Little guy, I'm not a midget, he's a
But he says, I'm not a...
I'm not a midget.
saying
child.
I don't want anyone to think I'm
Like
offending.
Anyone
a
to think I was
child.
offending a midget.
Just don't say it again.
Yeah.
If the problem is the word, don't use the word twice. It's a good
Well,
philosophy.
the problem wasn't the word. The problem is that he said he thinks he's being offensive because he says little guy.
Oh.
He says, like, I don't want you to think I'm offending him because, like, the insinuation is, like, if you saw somebody and you go, hey, little guy, like, that would be offensive.
Oh.
So he's saying, I don't want you to think I'm being offensive.
No, but he's saying it's
Like, if a, you know,
They'd rather
not,
be called
it's
midget.
like literally not a midget though.
yeah, that's the point. It's a kid.
Oh.
But, like, walks in here and I went, hey, little guy.
And then he doesn't want everybody to think, oh,
Like, whenever Levi walks in, I have to hold my tongue
gosh
because I don't want to be
dang.
offensive.
Oh no, we can't let it get out Levi's actual height. Not on the podcast.
3'4".
5'2".
Oh,
And Jude, 7'8".
Stop it,
you
Jerry!
monster.
Every time I sneeze, my head hits the ceiling.
What?
Yeah.
Oh. You
because he
sneeze?
stops crouching over.
I
Yeah.
guess you do sneeze that way, huh? That one's kind of funny. I don't really know what about that we could really talk about or analyze. I mean,
should we call small people
Should we
little
call
people?
small people little people?
Yeah.
As
you know
the
that like
resident-
even just now, I was trying to figure out like what is the appropriate thing to say now.
Yeah, midget. Well, not
I mean,
anymore.
I don't know though.
I don't think midget
They
is
used-
cool.
Like I would like to be respectful.
And I would like to say midget, but
Well, no, I would like to be respectful.
as a resident little person,
not a midget.
but not a midget. Like
Is that term
what? Little person?
uncouth though, or
Little guy.
no?
Little person or midget?
Midget.
I think it is.
Yeah, you guys have just been.
I mean, it
saying
depends
it.
on-
Well, I
people.
think it's uncouth in the same way.
It's
like,
basically
dumb
just
things
like
are
different
uncouth.
people because I've heard
Yeah.
some say like
Yeah.
I don't want to be called dwarf. I want to be like midget, and then others.
But see, if you had to say, if you were saying just those two words and said which one sounds worse, just to say like which
Oh
one
yeah,
sounds
yeah.
almost aggressive, midget sounds aggressive.
Yes, but I've heard some like prefer different. Like,
Yeah,
things.
but I think maybe the insinuation like they don't want to be called dwarves because people like think of like the seven dwarfs or something. I don't know. I would like to be respectful. I just never know what the appropriate thing is to say.
No, but I think where he messed up was just that he didn't just move
drawing
on.
attention to it.
Yeah, drew more and more attention to it, and just
He could have been like little guy in the back. It's a kid, or just said nothing else. Little guy in the back. Because most people are going to assume.
little guy in the back.
I wonder if there is somebody in their congregation that is vertically challenged.
Huh?
Maybe that's why he's saying that. Because he's like, I don't want you all to think I'm talking about Paul back there. I'm just talking about my kid. And Paul's like, hey. Yeah. What are we doing?
Oh, our guy in the chair.
Oh, is he sending us stuff?
He texted me a link.
Ooh.
The LPA issues statement to abolish the M word.
Oh.
And the M word being mitochondria.
What?
Well,
Midget.
it looks like
Who's the
Over
LPA?
90% of our members
Little
surveyed
People of
stated
America.
that the word should never be used in reference to a person with dwarfism. 90%
Wait. 90% of...
is a derogatory slur
Of
to
their
refer
members.
to the people of short stature.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
wow. I didn't know that.
Well, we got to cut that out of the podcast now, guys.
We could
Every time we say it, we could just have it like play a sound effect.
I didn't know it was like the.
can we have a slide whistle?
Wait, is that
Why? Shouldn't it
the way you said it? Don't make me think it would be funny.
Because it would be funny. It's a funny sound. It's a funny sound.
That one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay.
Why is that not
Well, why are you laughing so much?
funny?
Why are you laughing so much?
It's funny.
Yikes.
What?
Well, now we know, guys, listeners at home. If this does make it into the
Don't use.
final, don't use the M word.
That's funny.
Like that? You want that
Wait,
whole
nobody
thing?
talk so we can clip this.
You want that whole thing played?
Well, we'll have to speed it up.
Hang on. There might be another one.
That's so. Oh, that one's good. Comes back.
You want that played over every single time you said that word?
It would be funny.
Okay. All right. Well, running with the theme of like funny preacher moments, I suppose. Levi.
Wait,
Jude and I
then
have seen this. What?
what are we supposed to say?
What are we supposed to say to
Well,
what?
I sent a video of
They prefer dwarves, little people, people of short stature, or having dwarfism, or simply, and most preferred, by their given name.
Well, okay.
Okay.
Of course.
No, that's
have
what
to
they
at-
said. That's
it-
what
no.
they
It's like
literally
at
said.
some point, like referring to men or women, referring to like sometimes it is appropriate to refer to
Yeah,
groups
I still
of people.
don't use your name.
Yeah,
guy
you just
sitting
call
next to
me
me.
guy sitting next to me. It's really weird when like you and I are talking over Discord and playing games together, and you're like, "Hey, guy sitting next to me," and I'm like, "Dude, I'm not next to you."
Hey, average height man.
Thanks.
Hey, facial hair haver.
I technically do. I wouldn't necessarily. I think I'm just barely below average height, technically. Because
Hey,
I think
guy with
average
two
male height is
opposable
5'9", and I'm like, I like to say I'm 5'9", but I don't think I am. There's another funny clip here, Levi, that I want to show you. Children are screaming in the background, if you can hear that. Don't worry, it's...
Oh, I thought that was Bryn.
All right. This is a pastor talking about... Well, he's talking about really the most effective way to reach children.
Okay,
Young man
That's really loud.
that is very loud.
in Calvary. His name was Ben. And I was running a youth group. I was there for a few years. And he was a nice kid, but he was one of those kids that was always he's a real smart aleck. Was a bright kid,
Have you seen this?
which didn't help things, right? Made him more dangerous. And we were outside one day at youth group, and he was just trying to push my buttons, and he was just, kind of not taking the Lord serious. And I walked over to him, and I went, bam! I punched him in the chest as hard as I crumpled him. I just crumpled him.
I crumpled the kid.
And I said, I leaned over.
Dude, the congregation is silent. So the way this is filmed, either this guy is preaching to an empty room, or these
And you
people...
can clearly hear someone cough beforehand, so it ain't that.
So one guy maybe, or these people are as heartless as he is.
Is it heartless or is it?
Everybody's like, yeah, this is...
What, do you want them to all be cheering? Would that give them more heart?
No. Either laugh
They're shocked. They're
or
clearly
be
in
like,
shock.
what?
Bam! I punched him in the chest as hard as I crumpled the kid.
I
I
crumpled
just
the
crumpled
kid
him.
like a piece of
And I
paper.
said, I leaned over and I said, Ben, when are you going to stop playing games with God? I led that man to the Lord right there. There's times that might be needed.
There's times that might need.
Yeah, and then doubles up. There's times that might be
I
needed.
led that man to the Lord right there.
Oh, man.
Man.
I walked over to him and bam! I just punched him in the chest as hard as I could. Crumpled the kid.
I just threw him through that wall.
I grabbed... Now, Billy, he's not taking the Lord seriously. And so I walked over him. And with love in my heart,
I threw him down
I
that
grabbed
staircase.
the side of his head. And I
Yeah.
put it through the drywall. I led him to the Lord that day.
Yeah.
He cried.
He met the Lord. That
Tears
day.
of joy.
And I said,
He didn't make it.
I leaned over and I said, Ben,
Ben,
when are you going to stop playing games with God?
When he stop playing games again.
I led that man to the Lord right there.
I want someone to edit this, please, in the Discord. So that, please, I'm just asking, I'm begging. So that it goes, well, this kid just wasn't taking the Lord seriously. So I leaned over and I said, Ben, when are you going to start taking the Lord seriously? And then I punched him in the so you switch it around. Yeah. So the old 1-2.
He's already laying on the ground, and you're like, Ben, when are you going to start taking
And then I
that
just
seriously?
crumpled that
And
kid.
then I just beat him into the
crumpled
ground.
that kid.
Oh, man. Let's unpack this here. Shouldn't do that,
What?
but I get the message.
I thought that was like the point.
Shouldn't do it, but
It's effective.
But it's effective. Yeah, I get it.
I mean, in the one case that I've heard of a pastor just absolutely like pummeling a kid, he was led to Christ.
Well, do you think that really happened?
I think so.
I
Do you
mean,
think the kid actually?
I don't know.
Or do you think he was scared?
Oh, he was probably most definitely.
So
scared.
let's assume everything this guy said is true. So this full-grown adult man, he looks like he's like, I don't know, 38, walked up to, like, I don't know, it sounded like maybe an 8th grader or something, punched him as hard as he could in the chest. Crumpled him. The kid's on the ground. He kneeled over the kid and said, when are you going to start taking God seriously? Do you think the kid was actually like, oh, I see the error in my ways. I've been living a sinful life. I've been, recklessly not even considering my actions. I should really dedicate myself to God.
Wow, I've been making
Or
these jokes.
is he like, if I don't live for God, I'm going to get punched in the chest?
Yeah, or was he just like, I'll say whatever you need me to not get my
don't
ribs
punch
broken
me
again.
Yeah.
I will say, objectively, I think if, given all the knowledge we have, if that guy's telling the truth, probably wasn't a cool move. Probably wasn't the right move, probably. But I have a very similar, personal experience where it was the right move, kind of. Well,
To
being
just
caught off guard or
deck
being
a
like,
kid.
no, I got decked.
yeah, I know what you're talking about,
Yeah.
but this is still different.
It is, and now I'm thinking maybe it wasn't the right move, but it did have a
We know
good...
that wasn't necessarily the right move.
Yes.
Just because some things are effective.
No, I know. I'm realizing that now. It wasn't the right, but it did have a good turnout.
Yes. And obviously, if this is true, it can have a good
Hey,
turnout.
I committed a war crime, but we won the war.
Right.
The good guys
Good
won.
analogy, yeah.
It seems like Jude doesn't think that's a good analogy as he sucks on his pinky.
As he sucks on his pinky.
It's a good
for
analogy,
his-
yeah.
Just
I'm not
eating
sucking on
a
my pinky for the
seasoning
audio
packet.
listener.
You
I'm
guys
eating
know, Fun Dips? Jude is eating a Fun Dip, except it's a Red Robin fry seasoning packet.
Dude, it's so good.
It's so gross.
They're steak fries. I'm just...
Also, he doesn't have candy. He's just using his pinky.
Yeah.
Well, I'm pouring it in my mouth most of the time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Except
and
for
then
that
you
time
stick
that
your
you
pinky
put
into
your pinky
it
in
and
there
then
and sucked on your pinky.
pinky.
I don't know what you guys are talking about.
Double
Audio
the
listeners,
salt. The
they're
saltiness
lying,
of
audio
your
listeners.
finger.
Ah.
They're lying, listeners.
They're lying.
Ugh, stop.
I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, it's disgusting.
I'm not. They're lying to you.
No, he actually
I'm just
is.
waiting for him to slip up and accidentally make a sound so that you know.
I'm not.
I mean, he did
See?
shake the packet.
Guys, I'm not doing that.
Ew. That's so gross. Yeah, no, I can say, I mean, yeah, I also have personal experience where sometimes things like this, you have to be kind of like, I mean, where that saying, put the fear of God in him or
Because,
whatever.
That's the saying. Put the fear of
If-
God in him or whatever.
If
Yeah,
if
or
we're
I
to take
had
him
or
at his
whatever.
word entirely,
Yeah.
and this kid was 100% just led to Christ that day, I mean, that's incredible. That.
That is pretty incredible.
That's
It's also incredible this guy still has a job, if that's
it's
true.
incredible
Parents didn't,
that
file.
that's the way that it happened, because way more likely this kid would have a very bad
Understanding.
understanding of the love of God, entirely, and people in authority over him.
It's a good example of a bad situation, kind of like not understanding that as Christians we are also posters for Christianity and everything we do.
Posters is a good word for it.
That kid could have completely been radically changed in the wrong way and walked away going,
Christians
this
are abusers.
Radical Christian idea that a full-grown man should full force punch a kid in the chest.
Full force.
But the thing is,
And all
in that
Christians must have a
situation,
wicked right hook.
Dude.
that's the
Welcome to the
kid
Church of
wouldn't
Christ.
be altogether wrong in having those thoughts coming away from it because of the situation.
He might
Well,
be,
it wouldn't be
he
wrong
might
in
be
having
wrong,
those thoughts, but he could be wrong in thinking that all Christians are that way.
Yes,
Yes, his conclusion might be wrong, right? But he it wouldn't be unwarranted.
He would actually have reasoning.
Yes. It would not be wrong of him to think wow, this is
I
how
gotta
they
get
deal
out
with.
of this.
Yeah, it wouldn't be wrong for him to think that, though he would be wrong. Interesting.
Yeah, that's why I don't like that the way you're framing it, saying it wouldn't be wrong of him to think that. It wouldn't be it would not be unwarranted, right? It makes sense for him to have these thoughts or to walk away from it thinking oh, Christians are going to beat me up or whatever. But like, what? I had Discord muted. Why is it making
how
noise?
does
Did
it
you have the
No,
actual
I-
app muted?
Yeah. I got it way ahead of you. I mean, it's not gonna matter that much in the grand scheme of things now, but it's been like
The
why?
damage has already been done.
It's been like 6 episodes since we had that little error.
That little clerical error.
That little error.
No, that's a better way of putting it. The kid would
Error
not
by
be
clerics.
un-Elizabeth warranted. Classic
Jeez.
political joke.
Yeah, classic joke.
In thinking that, but he would be wrong.
I forgot who Elizabeth Warren was while you were saying that. I thought it was like
She's
an
like
actress,
a
but
Native
no.
American spokesperson.
Yeah.
Fact check me.
Yikes.
Not wrong.
No, you're wrong.
Well,
I would
she
think the
is
vast
too.
majority
If
of
I'm
their
wrong,
community
then
would
so
not.
is she. So,
That's the point.
well,
Oh,
kidding.
yeah. Well,
Yeah. Hey,
where are we going with this?
Good takeaway from this. Don't deck children.
Crumple children.
Don't crumple them
Yeah.
and then be like, "This is from God." 'Cause that's
Well, yeah, attributing things to God.
when are you gonna start taking God
Does he do that in the
seriously?
video?
But also, another takeaway. God uses, can use bad situations and bad things for good. If we're
Not
to
all
believe
is
what he
lost.
says.
Like the situation Jerry's understands I'm talking about. Like ended up being a good thing, but could
You're
have
talking
been
about
done.
when Dad broke that 2x4 over your head, right?
Jerry, I don't want people to think I had a bad dad. Don't tell them that. Yeah.
No, Jude's
my
talking about
dad
something else.
shattered a 2x4 in school. And
And God used it for
ended
good.
up being a lot better. I can't
Well, Jude met that really nice
process
nurse in the
any
hospital.
real emotions anymore, but no, it ended up being a good thing. That was freaky.
That was
but
creepy.
could it have been done better? Definitely, probably, yes.
I mean, and the situation we're talking about, I mean, that's been talked about with the people involved, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think there are situations in our life, 100% that, 100% that are startling, right? And revelatory.
Yeah.
And I mean, they can be situations where you later, like if it's something you do, I was brash or, I was not careful, but you can be very, very thankful for the ways that God still uses them, right? I've been trying to think of an example of something in my life where I did something that I regretted, or I was like, I should have been better, and then it still ended up being good, and I can't really think of one. But I mean, it does happen, of course, right? And I don't know. Yeah.
Upon dissecting something about the video that actually makes me frustrated is that going off of what you were saying, Levi, is the kid would be warranted in thinking that it is bad, and that's so radical because we're called so heavily to protect children and kids.
Oh yeah,
and
you just beat up a kid.
Yeah, and their ideas of the world, of just how things are and how they feel about things, just on immediate thought, how they feel about something is shaped in childhood. That's how people when you're growing, and that could have turned out and may have turned out. I don't really know the backstory behind this video. Video could be fake for all I know. It's funny, but it is a drastically potentially large.
If
mistake.
anyone leads my children away from me,
Yeah.
it's better for him to have a
millstone
millstone
tied
wrapped
around
around
his
his
neck.
neck and to be thrown into the ocean.
and be put to community service work. That's the ESV.
So then I guess, yeah, like you're saying, a really good takeaway is our reasons behind things may be good, but maybe still think about the actions that they're
And
creating.
recognize
And just
how
because you have
volatile-
wrath, just because you're wrathful doesn't mean that it's righteous fury.
Yeah,
that
I
you've
think there's an
got.
argument to be made that maybe man doesn't have righteous fury.
But you can be angry at things for happening without sinning.
Yeah, I think so.
But
It is when the anger dictates what you do in response where it usually goes
Yeah,
wrong.
when it
Which
dictates
sounds
your
like
actions.
this guy was like, man, I should crumple this kid. And then he went, man, I'm gonna.
Yeah, my assumption is that this guy was frustrated with a kid for being disrespectful or something.
Yeah.
Thought, oh, I can get. He may have had the idea of like, I'll punch this kid, and then later turn it into something so I can get away with the punch.
Yeah.
Or he legitimately lost his anger and punched a kid, and later was like, I can turn this into something that saves me.
Yeah, and I think he could be just genuine. It's possible he's thinking like, man, this is what was needed.
Or yeah, he could be.
What's crazy is that it really is like a selfish thing. It's like when it comes down to when this guy crumpled that kid, was he crumpling that kid out of his love for God or from his frustration with the child?
Or he was like, yeah, he got to both gratify himself a little bit by like taking out that aggression.
Well, I think it's all gratification of self.
Yeah, getting the gratification of being able to punch this kid that was like annoying him, and at the same time turned it into ministering to him.
Yeah.
And so it's like he got to double dip there a little bit.
And maybe it's not in reality these darkest corners we're talking about, but that's the danger of like a situation where you're hitting a child.
Yeah.
No, what I was really getting at was like just the volatility of children. How we got to be really careful. And
That's true.
People our age are like, unfortunately, I couldn't be a part of the VBS at our church.
How dare you?
I was working. I couldn't. I did the last year it happened before COVID, but there's a lot of people our age and older and younger volunteering in like children's work, and you just got to be like really careful because you have to be intentional with your words and your actions, like not punching kids in the stomach, but also like what you say about Christianity, how you say it, because children can take something and interpret it entirely differently, and then stew on that, and that's how they believe things to be. And so just like whenever you're working
they don't
with
even
kids,
stew on it, and it's just like, oh, that's how it is.
That's how it is,
and that's it.
And then you've set like a pretty in stone kind of that it might take work to kind of uproot that and correct that.
I think it's one way of that, or that being exemplified heavily, right, is with profanity. Like when kids hear profanity, a lot of times people will be like, there's these two ideas of like, well, when you're around children, I mean, people won't use it because it's accepted as wrong, and we've talked about this before. And you don't use it because you don't want kids to pick it up, and because if they hear you say it, they might say it because they're so impressionable. But one of the other things is when a kid does pick it up and then they say it, sometimes our immediate reaction is to laugh because it can be funny, right? To hear like this innocent little child say something that they don't even know what it means.
Juxtaposition of... And
they're saying it because maybe they heard you say it, and then you laugh, and then they hear you laugh, and they're like, oh, it's funny to say it. And then they want to say it again.
If nothing else, it's funny when I say it, which is potentially worse.
Yeah, we actually had a thing that happened. Caleb... oh shoot!
What?
Doxed my little brother.
We'll put the
done
slide
that
whistle
like 3
over it.
times before this already, and we even talked about it one time. Like,
but anyway, when he was a kid, he
you told all our listeners where to find your spare key at your house.
That's true.
Speaking of doxing,
what?
Somebody pointed out to me recently
when you were locked out of your house, right?
You were like, "Hey, no, it was when you were talking about Caleb." Because this reminded me of it. Because I was saying the last time you talked about Caleb, you said, "Hey, Caleb, I put the key here so that in case you need to get back in, this is where it is." And you said on the podcast where. I mean, nobody knows where you live, so it should be fine.
It's like for all intents and purposes, inconsequential, but funny.
But it was
Dude,
funny.
I never remember hiding. Okay.
You're
Well,
like,
maybe
Caleb, if you need the key to get back in the house, it's in the gutter.
Okay.
Never mind. Go into what you were saying. I just thought that was funny.
But yeah, so where was I? When he was a kid, he was in like the back of the car or whatever. He was ADHD, like out the wazoo, right?
Okay.
But he would like sing and make up these like random songs. Super annoying. Incredibly annoying.
Jeez.
But basically, what it would come down to, he would choose a sound and then he would just like make a bunch of words around it, adding to the front and to the back, and then just like going through a bunch of songs. And then he created this swear word without realizing it. Somebody laughed, and then he just got hung up on it.
Yeah.
And then he was just continuously doing it. We started to laugh, and then we were like, no, we have to like nip this like now. And it was difficult.
Ages ago.
But it was hilarious.
Yeah, ages ago at our old church, we were down in the gymnasium before one of the various meals we had, and I had a fork in my hand.
Oh.
That's a fork. And And
I
was
see
just,
where this is going.
it's hard not to. Yeah, but I was just trying to do different accents. And then my dad stuck his head out through like the little opening in the kitchen. He's like, what did you just say? And I was like, well, Dad, I said, and then
I said fork with an
he's like, don't.
yeah, don't.
Yeah.
That's probably a good way of handling it. Just telling you not to do it.
Well, and then he was
not
like,
laughing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then he went back in the kitchen and just died of laughter.
Well, that's when he came out with the 2x4 and just snapped it over my head.
About it anymore. No. Yeah, you were 7.
Hey, don't. And I was like, why? And he went,
And he came
okay. Go whack. I can't process emotions, but I won't say that.
Yeah. Yeah, Jude doesn't even remember how to say it. He tries to.
I can't. No.
That word is entirely erased from existence.
Yeah, I just know there is some variation that if I say, I'll get hit.
If
with
you pronounce fork a weird way, you'll get hit by 2x4.
Cuts to me. I've got a 2x4 by the table at the ready. I always have to carry one around.
When I go to therapy,
always
I'm like,
strapped
I have
with
a
that
deep-seated
2x4.
fear of cut wood and 2x4s. Why do you think that is? I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it. Okay, we've kind of ended up talking about a bunch of different things, right?
That's true.
And this little joke video ended up, we kind of talked about a few, like being careful with the way you talk to children, I guess. Yeah. But because we're pretty much at the end of our time for an episode now, how do we want to wrap it up into something that we're a little more proud of? I don't think we've necessarily just entirely joked around this whole episode or not said anything meaningful at all. But we had kind of a topic we were going to talk about, which we can save for another time now. But now we've kind of just stretched this out with this video. I don't know. You talked a little bit about kids and how we talked about how impressionable they are. How do you want to wrap that up?
I feel like I did.
Okay, that's fair.
Well, something about anger, though. Man, taking that extra second, and I've noticed this in my life, and it's a stupid thing. It's like, what would Jesus do? Everyone says it, but then when you think about it, you go, oh, there's a reason people say it.
What, taking an extra second?
Like, what would Jesus do? Yeah, taking an extra second. Because immediately when you get mad and you do something, it literally takes 1 second for you to go, wait, and then you immediately go, okay, that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But all it takes is the self-control to take 1 second. Some people struggle with anger like way more, and I'm not trying to demean, that. But for most people, half a second. Just take it and go, whoa, 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 whoa. And it just like pushes the brakes on the train of anger.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes. That's all you gotta do.
No, it is
Instead
very
of
effective.
crumpling
Holding
this
your
kid,
tongue. Oh, man.
Yeah.
maybe
You
there
go.
are other solutions.
Do I punch this kid in the gut? Half a second, you'll be like, this is a horrible idea.
I think the thing that I was thinking about, the thing I was thinking about during all this was just sometimes I find it very easy to go, oh, somebody is saying something, or somebody is being a little bit confrontational themselves, or trying to kind of poke at me, right? And then I know what the right thing to say is, but I also know a way to say it in which I feel like I win, as well as this is what they need to hear, or I feel like I can loosely weave in some way of dissing them while also ministering to them.
I said the correct thing.
Yeah.
Now, did I say it in a way that demeaned them?
Because
Yes.
Yeah.
But I said the right thing.
yeah.
Did I feel was it way more gratifying in the moment to say it that way? Yeah.
That's what I'm getting at.
Was it better in the long run?
Not usually. Just because I don't think in our lives we're going to have as drastic examples as this, where we are
Crumpling it.
we are finding ourselves really tempted to just punch a kid in the chest.
speak
And
for
if we are, I hope we think back on
for yourself.
I hope we think back on this and think about taking that extra second.
Yeah.
But I think a more applicable situation with this is, right, this guy's got an opportunity to minister to a kid, and this kid's being a punk. This kid is, getting on his nerves. That I can relate to, right? I've helped in children's ministry, especially like middle school. I served at a camp in Wyoming
That's right.
for a long time,
Okay.
or like a week. But I meant to say it was a long time
all
ago.
that community service for that traffic accident.
Yeah. But Jude, you were there too. And
Wyoming.
some of those kids were were really, really difficult to deal with.
Hey, I'll go out and say it. Some of those kids were punks.
Yeah, and
Did you crumple them?
it
No,
makes
because
you.
they're kids.
It has two effects on you when you're there to serve.
But that's the only choice.
At some points, it makes you want to be more effective because you know they need it more.
Yeah.
And also, sometimes it makes you want to just give up on them and say something that will like make them cry. And so, when you're really annoyed, the thing for me is I will be tempted to like say what they need to hear, but weave in there some way that like, you know, their smooth brains might not realize I'm dissing them, or you know what I mean? Like they're kids, so they might not notice, but I know what I
3
said.
years in the
you saying
future
that's
when
a
they're
good thing?
thinking about
No.
Okay.
I'm saying be aware of that.
Yeah.
Is like to go away from that. My point is that we probably won't find ourselves in a situation where we're tempted to punch and crumple a middle schooler.
Far often we'll be more tempted to just patronize.
to just patronize and be rude.
Yeah.
And so that was my point.
So in everything, if someone's like not listening to you, especially in like
And especially because
position-
these are kids that we're talking
yes, in
about.
a position of like leadership over kids, they build up walls, and that wall can be not paying attention or making smart aleck comments like this kid in the video was, or it can be arguing for the sake of arguing, or it can just be being belligerent. And I mean, to this guy's credit, one way to break down a wall is to punch it right in the
with brute
chest.
force.
But you know, little known thing about Christians, we're supposed to model our life after Jesus. And the number one way he got around the walls that people were building when he was talking to them was through parables. And it just goes to show that like there are ways to get through somebody's defenses and walls.
Stories of relatability.
Stories, yeah.
Right?
And it's often on, I would say most all the time, so much better to subversively go through those walls instead of destructively go through those walls.
And when people are like chastising you and like doing all that,
Human nature,
human nature is
Creeps up on you,
always
man.
to react
defensive.
like defensive. Well, they were instigating it, so they
Yeah. Thinking about why
But-
you're allowed to act in a way that is disrespectful because they started it.
But what can in some of these situations, maybe not with like a child, but with like an adult that's just chastising you, if you don't return in kind and like turn the other cheek towards them, it can be just as if not more impactful than actually just crumpling that kid.
Well, yeah, if I can go Southern pulpit for a while, it's like, if you've got a wall and I break through it, you just got a wall that got busted through. So you're going to build it up twice as strong. If I can get through that wall without breaking it down subversively, you got no reason to work on the wall. You got no reason to build a bigger wall. And if I can yell with a Southern accent, it might, give it a little more oomph. But I think it's a good point.
Yeah.
And placing the ball in the other person's court.
I think also it's important to remember too that we're not always going to see the results we want, right? So
No.
like just because a kid is being, because the context is we're talking about, right? How ministering to children. If a kid is being difficult and punkish and not responding well, and what does he say in this? Not taking God seriously or whatever. We might not be the one in the situation that will see the results that you want in these kids, right? When we were at that camp, there were a few kids that were really difficult to deal with, and I really, really wanted to see some sort of result in them. And you almost feel like it's destined because it's a camp, and it's like, oh, I'm gonna be that counselor that reaches them, and you're like, I know by the end of this week, or at least I was telling myself,
I'm gonna
in the back
have
of my
that
head,
movie moment.
I'm gonna have that movie moment exactly where you're like, you sit down with them and they go, I really do want, Christ in my life, or they at the very least realize what they were doing was wrong and they want to change or something. And it's important to go into that situation going, you know what? I might not be the one that sees this, but I have to act as though someone's going to, and I have to pour into this kid's life regardless of, and not be selfish and not want that gratification, and not be selfish and just be going into it for the gratification of seeing the result, but instead be perfectly happy serving and knowing that, and having faith that result is going to come, whether you see it or not. And the great thing is I have a great story from that camp experience of that kid that I was really wanting to see some sort of result in. It actually wasn't until I went, I might not see it. I was really struggling and I was talking with some of the other people there. This kid is just terrible to deal with, and he's really hateful. And I wanted to see some result in him. And it wasn't until I really prayed about it and said, you know what, God, I might not see that result until I did. And it was the very last day. I had that movie moment on that last night, and David and I got to pray with him, and it was really, really impactful. And it was crazy to see how much this kid had ended up impacting me over that process. But
the bottom line is reaching the kid's soul, not seeing yourself reach the kid's soul. And if you do anything to jeopardize that so that you can see it, you're making a big mistake.
Because we're not serving for us. We're serving for him. Yeah. You know, and that doing it for the gratification would be serving ourselves. But we are called to serve God. So be instruments of his work, not our own. Cool. Was there anything else we want to talk about?
Well, I can talk about, like, I've always wanted to talk about, like, AI generative.
Nah, we'll do it another time.
Okay. Hey, write this down so I don't forget.
Okay, hang on. Let me get
But I'm going to choose my words better this time so I remember it.
A1 sauce.
I'll remember it.
Write down Jude talks AI photos.
Make sure it's I and not one.
Job culture. Job culture. You got to write job culture down.
Job culture. You got to write job culture down. Job culture.
You're not going to remember what it is.
I will this time for sure.
Gotta write job culture.
Also, hit us up in the Discord. Tell us, last episode we had this weird thing. I think it was an editing mistake in the beginning. We might have left a clip in that wasn't supposed to. Tell us how you feel about that.
Well,
the audio listener knows what I'm talking about.
Oh, before the episode played?
Yeah, I think we left a clip in, but...
Did we leave that in?
If the audio listener likes it, we can just keep it in.
I mean, nobody was supposed to hear it.
Well, I think it's already uploaded.
Well,
too late now.
Let us know if you hated it or didn't. I mean, cool.
I think it was funny.
Thanks for listening, everybody. We love you very much.
We love you very much, and play the outro.
I end the program by saying, you've made this day a special day by just your being you. There's no person in the whole world like you, and I like you just the way you are.
That's a good one.